Hello everybody. So I'm back from the ETC. Actually, I've been home for a couple of weeks, but I was distracted by real life. So that was my first ETC, Flames of War, and it was held in Leoben in Austria. So I had to fly from Copenhagen to Vienna and then a couple of hours drive to the location. It was very well organized. I can talk about that later. And the venue was very spacious, very nice, very open, very cozy. So this year there were lots of people from lots of countries, from all over Europe, as you can see on this small map, and also from Canada, USA, and New Zealand. I hope in the future also the other continents will take part, and it was fantastic, I have to say. So, and I was part of the United Nations team. That is a team that is formed every now and then when there is an uneven amount of teams that participates. So United Nations teams made by people from different countries is made to even up the number of teams participating. So that is the venue, just two shots. You can see how big it was. It was gigantic if you think about the usual standards of a tournament in a club or in a city. The United Nations team was made by David, Hemi, myself, Tiberio, Lucas, and Marco. And you can see there were two Italians, two Americans, one Englishman, and then me. I put the Danish flag even if I have Italian passport because I play mostly in Denmark. So I would associate myself to the Danish Federation if there was any. So first we look at my list. Of course, we were using dynamic points and it was mid-war. And for my first ETC, I wanted to be a little bit conservative. I wanted to make a list that is robust, mostly defensive. So I've chosen armored Panzer Grenadiers from Ghost Panzers. It could have also been just Panzer Grenadiers, but I wanted to have the option open for some mortars, armored mortars if needed. But I had Panzer Grenadiers with two platoons with the 2.8 centimeter anti-tank rifle, then 4 machine guns and 5 centimeter anti-tank gun. That was my formation. As a support, 4 Marders that are the usual big anti-tank guns that are also mobile. Then 7.5 centimeter anti-tank guns, 188, which is always good for only 5 points, And then I had the 4 Panzer IIIs, and one of them was upgraded to long. And as you can see, since I'm playing defense, the Marders and the Panzers were my reserve, which is just perfectly 40 points. I got to know very late that I was going to the ETC. Therefore, I had only 2 preparation games at home, and I had to change my list a little bit once. So I didn't really test this list too much. But let's go to the first game. So the first game was United Nations against Northern Ireland. There was a tough matchup, actually. The mission was It's a Trap, and I was the defender. And funnily enough, I had to meet another German defender with armor panzer grenadiers. This is his beautiful painted army. One more thing is that my opponent, who is a very, very nice person, is actually a very well-known player, very well-known John. He is from the US, but he was playing for Northern Ireland. And I was a little bit thrilled that my first game was actually against some celebrity in the field. Let's say that. So the first thing had a few minefields. It was one of the objectives that was actually very safe. And there was the other objective that was actually the target of my opponent. And he put everything he had against this objective, disregarding the other one. And it doesn't make sense because there are time limitations, and you have to put your effort on the one side. And having Germans against Germans, basically nobody has the high ground. It's pretty much even. Probably his list was more an attack maneuver list. My is a 100% defend list. So it was okay for me to defend. And maybe it was not perfect for him to attack given the buildings, the obstacles he had to face. So I ended up losing. Actually, Northern Ireland ended up giving a 6-0 to us. That was not nice. I lost 6-3. But it was a very tense game. It was to the last dice roll. At some point, I had the chance. If you roll a 4, 5, or 6, you win. And then I rolled a 1. It was an extremely close game. Very fun to play, and as my first game at ETC, I was very satisfied. Absolutely. And yeah, you can see his plan was to get into the buildings, around the buildings, and then to drive the Panzer IIIs to the objective. And then it worked out, but it was very, very close game. So for game number 2, they won game number 2. We got Ireland, of course. Why not? We start with Northern Ireland, so we continue with Ireland. The mission was outmaneuvered, and I was lucky enough to be the defender again. And my opponent, who is also an extremely nice guy, also had Germans. So 2 games in a row, Germans against Germans. And this is his army. The infantry is still in the vehicles, and then there was also the artillery outside this photo. And this was the corner he had to attack to. And you can see these woods, they played perfectly for me, because basically it allowed this bottleneck on the left side. And then if I had to come on the other side, I had all my anti-tank assets ready to hit. And this one, the objective in the middle was in the wide open, but I had all my forces defending it. And the other one was also tough. So I was extremely, extremely lucky to be the defender here. So his plan was to try to break inside the woods with the infantry and go around with the Stugs. And then at some point there was another maneuver to get his forces in the middle, try to get closer to the objective if the first objective attack would fail. And his scouts at some point got around the other woods out here to try to harass, pin down my 7.5 centimeters. So here is the thing. It was nearly impossible for my my friend here to get around. I had the 5 centimeters firing on the one side, and then I had the 88 covering at the different angles and the 7.5s from the distance. And driving into the woods is not an option. Going into the woods is an option, but I had my Panzer Grenadiers in foxholes, so it was very challenging here. And so that is what happened. Basically, I kept shooting, and everything is smoking, and they were, yeah. It was bloody, and I have also to say, you see those anti-tank assets, they cover everything. And to be honest, I've never seen in the many years I've been playing such a bad dice rolling. You see this very nice Irish dice. It was supposed to roll a 6 to make a hit, and it was basically most of the game it was rolling like that. So it was a difficult mission for him, with a difficult list for that mission, and rolling ones and twos again and again and again. So that cannot end so well. You see everything is burning, and it ended up with an 8-1 win for me. So my first win at ETC, and we lost as a team 3-2 to Ireland and a draw, but it was we're moving, so we are not just some bunch of random guys showing up and being sparring partners to everybody else. As you can see, after day 1, so 2 matches, we are not the last team. So we actually got 2 points, which was, I wouldn't say as expected, but we didn't have big expectations. Let's put it like that. So the first game of day 2 was against Wales, and we continue being up there on the British Islands. And I don't want to mention the names in my videos because you never know with privacy and this and that. But this was a funny one because it's Alexander versus Alessandro, both playing the German, both playing defend. So what do you expect, and how are the chances that something like this happen? Not so many, but there was actually very, very funny. The mission was dust up, very symmetric. Of course, we both chose defend. I have to say my opponent's list was better than mine, and I really regret I didn't take any artillery with me, because in this 2 defend lists, both waiting to attack, I had a big issue. If I wait, my opponent's artillery, Alex's artillery, will just wipe me out at some point. So I had to make something. So this is his beautifully painted army. Well, not all of it. And there's mine that is not so beautifully painted. And the point was that I had to make some moves. I cannot just sit and being killed by Alex artillery. So I had to advance. I had to go around, and then his mortars started killing me. It was hilarious. It was very bad. I was not making my infantry saves, so my Panzer Grenadiers were dying like flies. At some point, I got my reserves in, and I said, okay, so now I have just to wait and try to defend and not to lose the game, because getting to the objectives was not a chance for me, not at all. Then he started advancing, and again, without any artillery, I couldn't really stop him. I couldn't pin him down. I could expose my my tanks to his anti-tank guns, but that was not, not a good option. So these guys, the mortars, man, they were single mortars, but they had such a great day. It was by far the MVPs. They were just great. They just killed me. So the game ended up with Alex getting to the objective. It was 8-1. I didn't have an option at all. Not I couldn't do anything really. It was a struggle, and there was the big learning. Remember to take artillery, at least a small one. And again, we lost 3-2 with a draw, but still we are moving. 3-2 against Wales is not too bad. And talking about Wales, you see, there are people you might know, and there was a honor actually to meet one of the big names in the YouTube Flames of War arena. It was nice meeting with him and the rest of the team. So the next game was against the Netherlands. It's a bunch of super nice guys, and same as us, they didn't have big expectations at this ETC, and the mission we picked was breakthrough, and again I was lucky to be the defender. The thing is that my opponent also had a defend list, and he had to attack. So it was very easy for me to just make a line with my defensive assets, sit, and somehow wait. The only thing I had to do was to rush my infantry to cover the objectives. That was the only thing. And my opponent came with a list that was filled with anti-tank vehicles and infantry. Very interesting list. If defending is fantastic, if attacking, I wouldn't pick this one. So it was at the start of the game. He had his M10s making some nice moves and some assaults, making some small damage. But you see, those objectives are far away, and those anti-tank vehicles, the M10s, they just, and so as I said, I had to put my infantry onto the objectives and secure that boundary and wait. And you see, the only artillery my nice opponent had was some machine guns, the Vickers, and that's it. So it was the same situation as me, no artillery, and he was attacking with not the best list for that. So his plan was to put the scouts on the one side, getting the M10s, the infantry in the center, the other M10s around on the hill and down, and try to get to the middle objective. So the thing was that I popped up my ambush in the woods, and I had my 5 centimeter guns that are very effective against the M10s, and so basically there were no open areas for my opponent. He had to go and try to assault. He worked a little bit, but then it stopped working. You see, these 5 centimeter guns, basically they decimated the M10s, or at least they made some damage. My 2.8 centimeter guns also made some damage, I believe was to the HQ. So it was tough. Attacking with that list is not simple. One more thing, at the ETC you exchange presents, teams to teams, and what we got from the Netherlands was this counters here, this flat destroyed vehicle, which is a great idea, because when you destroy vehicles in Flames of War, you are allowed to drive on them and sit on them. And so many times you have to park a big Tiger tank on a small American vehicle, and you break machine guns and this and that. So what they did, they printed out these tokens that you can use to substitute the wreck of the vehicle, and it was genius. I used them during the game because it was really, that is a great idea. Thanks guys, that was a really great idea. So basically what happened is that I got my reserves, I got everything onto the table. I started shooting, taking down the M10s, pinning the infantry with my machine guns. So it also ended up this game with an 8-1, but to me, the first game was a loss, 8-1. So this one was a win, 8-1. But I was really lucky to be the defender, because if I was attacking in this mission, it would have been a catastrophe. And we won 4-2. So that was not too bad. So also my teammates, they performed pretty well. And so at the end of day 2, after 4 matches, you can see we are slowly moving up. 8 wins, but we are surrounded by, just 1 point below France and Iceland, above New Zealand and Finland. So I was really surprised. We were, let's say, up there. So not too bad. So then we come to day 3, and the day 3 we meet New Zealand, the home country of the game. So we are not on the British Islands anymore, so we moved to former British colonies. As usual at ETC, my opponent was a very nice person, and that is a thing I have to say. I had fantastic opponents through the tournament, no doubt about that. Mission was no retreat, with me defending, and that is fair enough. My opponent had an attacking list, so that was good enough. And that is one of the lists that I was more scared of. It was Lee's, supported by infantry. So I was afraid, and I was a little bit tense, and I have forgotten to take photos. So I had to make a simple drawing. And so basically my opponent had the artillery coming, shooting from behind, a little bit of smoke, trying to range in, and that was I was very lucky that she couldn't range in all the times. And with the Lees going around the corner and in the middle, I had my machine guns and my Panzer Grenadiers in the buildings holding these objectives. The 5 centimeter guns in ambush up here, they destroyed probably one Lee and then they were wiped away. The 88 up on the hill was a big asset, and my 7.5 centimeters could target the Lees on the road. With the minefields covering, the southern, the lower part of the field, I had just to survive here in the middle, and the buildings were great because the tanks cannot assault into the buildings. So I had my machine guns and then my Panzer Grenadiers into the buildings or in foxholes, but in the buildings was very very good for me, was very very safe. And then when my reserves arrived with the murders, then I started killing some Lees. At the very beginning I was afraid it would be a fast loss for me, but then at the end we came actually to the sudden death phase. Actually I got to a win, and there was a 7-2 win. Didn't lose too many units, but it was harder than the result says, because the Lees were very close to breaking my lines, so it could have been a loss. It was a very close game against a very nice player again. And there was another win for the United Nations, 4-1. So we were climbing up in the scoring for the teams. So the standings. So it was not too bad. And so we came to the last game against Portugal. Also in this game, I was defending against the worst list, the one I was more afraid of. I was again Lees, supported by artillery and just one platoon of infantry, probably, yeah, one or two. But anyways, the point is that with the terrain we got and with the mission hold the pocket, I couldn't figure how to deploy my army in a decent manner, because my opponent could come from whichever direction. So here is a little bit of terrain. There were woods, so I put my minefields. There was a building, and there were two hills. And so I was thinking, okay, how do I deploy my anti-tank assets? Because it's mostly Lees. My infantry, they can very little with the 2.8 centimeters. And my anti-tank assets have to cover as much as possible. So I had my 88 here, try to cover both sides, and then I had my 7.5 centimeters here. So it's a sort of, I mean, either way, there is one flank that is weak. And then my opponent did something that was even worse for me. So he got basically his scouts all the way to the middle. So he deployed very close to the center objective that was placed, of course, in the center. And then he had 3 batteries of artillery. So that meant smoke 3 times. It meant 3 turns with smoke. And so I got my ambush. I believe I took down 1 or 2 Lees, but my infantry was there. There was an artillery template that was then removed, but then what do I do? I was smoked around this line 3 times. My anti-tank guns couldn't see the Lees, and the Lees started assaulting, and I couldn't stop them. So there was just not an option. I didn't know how to take advantage of the smoke, and my reserves arrived, but they were basically, the line of sight was covered by the woods and the smoke for 3 turns in a row. And so basically they got to the objective at turn 3, and my anti-tank guns, they didn't shoot one single shot. Not even the Marders. It was just the 5 centimeter guns, and then the Panzers that came very late, but they did nothing. So it was a disastrous loss. And what is the learning? I don't know, because in this mission, well, the only thing in the post-mortem, my super nice opponent said that if I had scouts, I could have deployed my scouts and stopped the possibility of his scouts coming too close. And that is probably true. That means that if I have to do another defense list, I would take artillery and scouts. So that ended up in a very bad loss. It was just 3 turns, 8-1. And you see that list, that is just hard for me. Is yeah, it was just a disaster, and we lost 3-2. Sorry for that, guys. So because if I would have won, that was nearly impossible. But anyways, if that would have been a win for us. So that was the last game. I was not so fortunate as the others, but it was fun anyways. And as I said, always nice opponents. Oh yeah, you see, smoke. Damn. So that's the final standings, and you can see that the United Nations, they ended as number 14 out of 22, which is a fantastic result considering that we never met each other. We just wrote on Messenger a billion messages back and forth. Which list are you taking? There were language issues and this and that. It was very fun, and it was, we did great. Still, 14 wins with a team of, I told my fellows, oh, we are the leftovers team, and not too bad. I mean, look, we ended just better than Germany and Canada and Belgium, Finland, very close to Wales, Portugal, France, New Zealand. I mean, we were 1 win from top 10. I didn't expect that. And then, of course, congratulations to Poland for winning the tournament. I heard that they played fantastic, and Italy as well. Bravi ragazzi, complimenti. They made a great tournament. Same points as the winners. United States very, very close, and then Denmark. My fellows from Denmark, they were very close to getting the bronze. They came back after the first bad day. They got fantastic wins, so they ended up at the 4th place. Gå ut, jag hoppas det blir bättre nästa år. So, what's next? That's my personal performance. So, the team summary first. We lost badly against Northern Ireland, 6-0. That was bad. We lost against Ireland, Wales, at Portugal by 3-2, so it was very close. And we won against the Netherlands and New Zealand 4-2, both games, so not too bad. What about me? I lost against Northern Ireland with a 3-6, which was more than acceptable given the caliber of my opponent. Lost against Wales and Portugal. Bad losses, I acknowledge that. Against Wales, my opponent is also a known guy, and he had definitely played better with a better list. And against Portugal, same. He played better with a list that makes sense. I won against Ireland, Netherlands, and New Zealand. They were tough games. I was lucky to be the defender against Ireland and the Netherlands. That helped a lot. And against New Zealand, it was a marathon. I believe I had cramps at the end of the game. It was a real marathon. So I'm super satisfied. I got 3 wins and 3 losses. One of the losses was, yeah, just about. So that meant that I ended the tournament at place 51 out of 132, and is a little bit better than halfway down from the top. So I was very satisfied. It was a nice experience, and 3 wins at my first ETC. Yeah. So that is a little bit of a summary. There were fireworks, there was barbecue every day. So I had lots of salads and soups when back home. And you see the top 3 is Italy, Poland, and the US. That's the United Nations teams, and you see we are very diverse in all possible manners. And it was nice meeting you guys. It was nice meeting everybody. And as I said, it was very well organized, beautiful venue. Everything was fantastic. It was fantastic experience for me. Absolutely. So that was it for the ETC. I thank you all for listening and watching all the way through. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and yeah, I'll see you again on this channel for more reports, and yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.